And welcome back to Who Would Win. Week of Who Would Win, and this one comes to us from Horror Fanatic, and I think it's times 25 or 26. Oh, well, it's times something. Who asked the question, who won a fight? The Leprechaun from, shocker, Leprechaun. Let me see if I can just make this a little image. Okay, that's a little bit more evened out now. The Leprechaun from Leprechaun versus the Djinn from Wishmaster. I'm just gonna call him the Wishmaster in the title because that's what I know him by. Both. I mean, leprechauns don't grant wishes, and he never granted wishes, but he has his own, lore and pot of gold and magical abilities. So this is a unique battle of supernatural creatures. The leprechaun is obviously a leprechaun. In terms of what the leprechaun's capable of doing, the answer is yes. If you ask, what can it do? All the things. Give me all the cheeses. What kind of cheese you want on that? All the kinds. And a small whiskey from Futurama. But no, literally, the leprechaun just seems to be capable of whatever it needs to be doing in the movie. To date, from what I can remember, it's capable of doing, it can teleport. He is unusually strong for his size. He can infect others with leprechaun disease. He can create just anything he wants. He can go out of anything. He created like a weird car out of like nothing, out of scraps. He is capable of just summoning random objects when he needs them, like pogoing someone to death. He suddenly had a pogo stick for some reason. He can grow into massive. Wait, did he do that? Did he grow into massive size in space, or was that a machine? I think it was a machine doing it. But he can also, make multiple copies of himself, like in very small versions of himself. He's generally immune to most forms of harm. He can be hurt and he can be damaged, but he can just regenerate from it. What else am I? So he clearly has magical abilities that verge on reality warping. He is clearly highly durable, but he isn't without his own weaknesses. Four-leaf clovers are basically his kryptonite. They will weaken his power. Straight iron, which is like Fey lore. Straight iron will burn it, will hurt him and burn him. And enough exposure to a four-leaf clover or iron will, in theory, kill him. So he isn't without his weaknesses. The Wishmaster Djinn, or the Djinn, is a Djinn. He's a genie, or just as they're known in Eastern folklore, Djinn. He's a supernatural, demonic-like entity who can manipulate reality to his will, usually by, granting wishes. He is bound by laws and rules, though. He said in the second one, you gotta grant me another wish. There are some rules even I am bound by. By the way, what was it, something Dickovich, the guy who played him in the original two? Love that guy in the original two. I hate the fact he didn't come back for the other two, because the other guy, especially the guy in the third one, it's not like I hated the design, but of the Djinn himself, but the guy they were playing the human form of him, like he was just like this little puppy saying, "What do you want? Huh? What are you gonna wish for? Huh? 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 Wish for something? Huh?" It's like that's what he was like. Oh man, what a waste. So, um, so the Djinn is really capable of anything. Now, it is also a being that is really bound by the rule of laws. It can grant one wish to anyone, but can grant three wishes for the person that released him, and then, his kind take over the world. That's the prophecy, kind of lore stuff. The only known weaknesses we've seen, he's not immune to pain, as in the first one he demonstrates, like, I'll give you a free one. He just blows his head off. See? There you go. But if any consolation, that hurt like hell. Oh God, I loved it. Is it my understanding you do not wish to see this? You wish to not see this? Yeah, done. And just takes the guy's eyes. I really like the Wishmasters. I did a review of the Wishmaster series at one point, back in the day. But yeah, he is bound by laws, but he can still fight on his own. He's still got the physicality of it being far greater than a human. He can use his magic too, just in the right context. For instance, when fighting angels, they can use their powers. They can use their powers to some degree, and that is like the only thing we've seen in the lore. By the way, we keep talking about reboots. Why? why can't they reboot the Wishmasters? I mean, we got a lovely version of it with 3,000 Years of Longing, and just a romantic version of Wishmaster. Um, so, um, so the Wishmaster, the Jinn is the only weakness we've ever seen for them is like the angelic fighting the angels, and like these, like she wished for something in the third movie. It's like, I wish for something that can kill you. And say, all right, you got it. Now, now can you use it? So yeah, oh no, he wished for something that can kill him. So the question basically becomes, because these are two supernatural forces or mystical supernatural forces who are basically impervious to most forms of harm. Who is going to out clever the other? Because in terms of damage, both these guys can't really kill the other outright. And I think that's just going to come down to who's older, who's got the more experience, and who's smarter. And on all fronts, I think that's going to the Jinn. The Leprechaun is both have their goals, but the Leprechaun is motivated a lot more by greed. And there's nothing, first off, we've never seen the Leprechaun in the movies go up against any other magical force at all, as far as I can tell, even whether it be weaker or stronger than him. We've just never seen it. So we don't know how he would compare to stronger magics or other magics in general. The Jinn's power seems to be a lot more dangerous and more powerful than the Leprechaun's, but it does have conditions and it has limitations of its own. So it's a question of, could he trick the Leprechaun into wishing for something, and then by extension taking the Leprechaun's soul at that point when he wants to? And my guess is, due to the greed of the Leprechaun, that would be a yes. Because I want me gold! Is that really, you wish for your gold? Is that truly what you wish for, your gold? Yes, I wish for me gold! Done. And there you go. And then it's like, the Leprechaun doesn't have a set, resistance as far as we know, especially to equal or stronger magics as far as we know. So, so I think the Jinn's just going to outsmart the Leprechaun in the long run. Add on to the fact that the Leprechaun has more weaknesses and more easily exploited weaknesses than the Jinn does. The Jinn, as far as I can tell, is really only weak to like celestial divine magic and to being tricked, just being outsmarted and wished back into like prison. So my money would be on the Jinn, not on the Wishmaster. I think he's just the more powerful individual, this older individual, and the wiser individual. As far as we can tell, the Jinn this particular Jinn has existed longer than this Leprechaun has. This Leprechaun is probably hundreds of years old, whereas the Jinn is thousands of years old. So, yeah, if not older. Like, we don't know even how old these Jinn are. How they come into being, how they're created, when they're born, all that. We don't know that, but we know that this guy is old and powerful and dangerous. The Leprechaun is dangerous too, but Leprechaun is probably a lot easier to outsmart and is actually easier to contain. For God's sake, that guy in the first movie put a 4-leaf clover on the goddamn box he was in, and the Leprechaun couldn't get out of the damn box. If you can be trapped by a piece of greenery and some wood, you're probably not winning the fight. And that's not even including like an iron safe. I can't, which one was that? He was caught in. Was it the second or the third one? Because I think the fourth one's when they were in space. But it's in one of them where he gets trapped in a safe and eventually has to convince the guy to let him out. So ultimately, yeah, iron weakness is a big one as well. That's a really exploitable weakness. So, yeah, ultimately, I'd go the Wishmaster. But who do you got in the fight? Who do you think? You think I'm right? You think I'm wrong? Disagree? Agree? Whatever? Let's have a combo. Yeah, combo. I shorthanded it because I'm so intelligent. I am such a modern person. I don't need full words. Conversation? No, combo. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you later.